Good afternoon to you, and welcome to the track on airports. My name is Alok, and I'll be moderating the session today. Just to remind you, what we're going to have in this session is we are going to have a very brief presentation by Indian Infrastructure on some key trends in the airport sector. We'll then have industry perspective session where we will have a presentation, short presentation by Mr. Sirohi from Trimble, and then we'll have a discussion, a panel discussion after that. And the presentation is going to be made by my colleague Ishita Gupta. Ishita, you can start making the presentation.
Sure.
So 10 minutes or less. Huh? So.
Sure, sir.
Yeah.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Quickly summarizing the key trends of the airport sector. AAI has recently added capacity at many airports as part of its expansion plans, which includes construction of new terminals, runway extension upgradation, and apron work. Since 2014, AAI has also constructed 110 new aircraft parking bays. As you can see in the graph, it shows a capacity addition at a few AAI airports from 2017-18 to 19-20. We've captured some of the key milestones in the past 2 to 3 years with regard to terminal inauguration and airport inauguration, such as Parking Airport, Kannur Airport, Bidur Airport, Darbhanga Airport. All these were inaugurated in the past 2 to 3 years. Highlighting some of the recent trends in the sector, there has been growing focus on low-cost, no-frills airport. Hisar Airport was recently inaugurated under UDAN. Thus far, 54 airports have been operationalized under the scheme. AAI has also developed a model for no-frills airport for smaller cities, which will consist of modular building concept, prefab structure, etc. A lot of big-ticket projects are also gaining ground, such as Jewar Airport, Navi Mumbai, Mopa, Dholara, and Bhogapuram airports. These are expected to come up in the next 3 to 4 years, at least the first phase. Besides, 20 greenfield airports have also been granted in principal approval. Existing airport expansions have been on the rise. Total capacity of 158 MPPA has been added in the past 5 years, of which AAI airports have added 85 MPPA. Besides this, new terminal buildings and expansion of terminal buildings has been planned at various airports, such as Agartala, Vijay, Chennai, etc. Ancillary infrastructure has been drawing attention. AAI has set up a subsidiary named AAI Cargo Logistics and Allied Services Company, which handles almost 30% of the country's total air cargo. International cargo facilities have been recently established, in fact, most recently in Indore, and a new domestic cargo terminal has been inaugurated at Surat. We all know the pandemic's severe impact on the aviation sector. Ongoing capex is likely to get delayed by 6 to 9 months. Pandemic-induced lockdown has impacted construction activity due to shortage of labor, slow pace of work on account of social distancing, and days lost due to lockdown. And there are also issues pertaining to material and equipment procurement. However, current liquidity of major private airports is adequate enough to meet the annual debt obligation for the current fiscal and fixed cost burden for at least 3 months. Here we are talking about some of the construction innovations, particularly the BIM technology, which is the Building Information Modeling. It's being used as the design and planning platform for the construction of new terminal building of Guwahati Airport, Terminal 2 of Bangalore Airport, and Navi Mumbai Airport. Globally, projects are using latest technologies and building artificial intelligence tools to improve project delivery. Going forward, blockchain is going to play a crucial role in airport construction. This is giving a snapshot of the key upcoming greenfield airport projects, which I just mentioned. This slide shows the new terminals and ongoing terminal expansion works, most of which are going to be completed at most by 2023. The National Infrastructure Pipeline envisions a total capital expenditure of about 1.4 trillion for the airport sector between 2019-20 to 24-25. Some of the focus areas under the Vision 2025 for the sector include India as a MRO hub, improvements in the UDAN scheme, enhancing private investments, and increasing investments in technology. Part of the Navnirman initiative, the government has also proposed to increase the capacity of airports by 4 to 5 times over the next 10 to 15 years. This will require an investment of at least 3 trillion. This slide captures some of the big 100 more airports to be commissioned by 2025, which is a key opportunity for construction players. Airport privatization is an emerging area. AAI has also embarked upon a capex plan of 250 billion for the next 4 to 5 years, which includes both greenfield development as well as brownfield expansions. The combined capacity of the airport is likely to be increased by 100 MPPA. Some of the issues and challenges pertaining to construction of airports include design and constructability errors, complex operational challenges, improper quantification of construction material, and low quality MEP systems. Summing up, delays in investments are likely to keep airports under pressure till 2023. Most of the airport projects and equipment procurement plans stand a chance of deferment. New airports will have to be developed based on the Aerotropolis approach. The ongoing round of privatization will pave the way for increased private sector involvement and investments from private equity and pension funds. Utilization of development fee to fund capital projects will ease the long-term funding requirements. Mainstreaming of airport development by state governments will be crucial. Non-metro cities hold huge potential for airport development due to high air travel demand. Majority of the airport's passenger handling capacity will saturate in the next 15 years, particularly in cities such as Delhi and Mumbai, which will demand a third airport. Overall, the expected growth needs to be supported by augmentation of both airside and city-side capacity. That's my side.
Okay, if you can stop sharing, Ishita.
Sure.
Yeah, that was meant to just give you a very brief glimpse of what is going on in the sector, not meant to be a comprehensive analysis or evaluation. Just to start us off, we are going to have now a brief presentation by Trimble, and the presenter is Mr. Anand Sirohi, and Mr. Sirohi is Mr. Sirohi, if you can just bear with me for a minute. If you can start your presentation. I don't have your bio in front of me right away. I'll just get that. You can start your presentation. I'll introduce you right after this. If you can start, sir. So.
Can you see my screen?
Absolutely. Perfect.
And I'm audible.
Yeah. So 15 minutes or less, please. Huh?
Yeah, I'll try my best. However, I think the plenary session was great in setting up the context for this discussion. So more than presentation, I think some of the points which came up during the discussion today morning, so I am Anand Sirohi and I represent Trimble across the verticals. We have multiple verticals, but cutting across the verticals, I take care of the digital construction initiatives from Trimble for the airport segment in India and SAARC region. So that's one industry which I'm working with, and I work with some of the large contractors also. So some of you would be knowing me from that engagement. So we heard that Mr. Sen, when he said in the morning,
I don't know why there could be some firewall, or I don't know. I'm getting.
Sorry. So we heard Mr. Sen saying that there will be gap in the skilled manpower, and he was talking generic on the infrastructure, and I don't see that being different for the airports. Then mechanization and automation, while it is becoming more and more visible to people, but there are still questions, and I think Mr. Sen clearly said that some of the answers to this skill gap would be mechanization, and some of the things which later on we heard from Mr. Parameshwar as well as Mr. Deshpande, where this knowledge bank or the knowledge management is becoming more and more clear and visible to all the people who are feeling the heat of either the COVID or the challenges that we are having in this space. I also heard from Autodesk saying that there is a knowledge gap in terms of contractors or the construction companies knowing what are the technologies available, and what is available and how it is available. So these are 2 or 3 things which which are there, which I would like to connect. And I will put some of the examples where in the airports, how at least on 2 airports how Trimble technologies have been used. So some examples I would take. I think that sets the context for just 2 minutes I'll take to introduce my company. So Trimble is a US headquartered company. We are a NASDAQ listed $3 billion plus dollars company. We represent multiple industries, but more than 31% of our business is from the infrastructure space, which covers both vertical and the horizontal infrastructure. People at Trimble, they are not totally the technology people. These are the people, most of them, they come from the industry, and they fuse their experience from the industry that they have, the work that they have done from their own hands, and then taking the advantage of the technology. We have more than 2,000 plus patents, around 11,000 plus workforce across the world, and I'm happy to say that we have 1,000 plus people in India, with majority of the people in Chennai, developing the products for the global consumption. Now, to this story of data-driven construction, which I would focus on, so Trimble focuses around positioning. So we are a 40-year-old company. Trimble is the first company which started the commercialization of the GPS into the commercial space. Before that, GPS was only used in the defense space. So we are the manufacturers for most of the products which are used in capturing the position, whether these are the scanners, total stations, robotic total stations. You can read it. I'll not read all the things. So in this inverted funnel, you will see that the first thing is the positioning of the sensors, and that's, I would like to connect this piece with the life cycle of the airport project, where everything starts with the survey, whether we do a manual survey or a digital survey. So we manufacture these products. At the same time, we also have the ability to take the data from other products which are catering, other products which are from other manufacturers. And then the next piece is that while we capture this position, the next most important things that comes is the communicating this position for the connectivity piece. So since we are into the GPS space, so right from the radio communication to the cellular, to any form of communication, we would be able to use that to communicate this information from field to site, site to field, connecting different pieces of the equipments which are used on the field. And one very important piece where Mr. Deshpande today morning said that in construction, most of the things happen in field. While I also heard that people spoke about BIM, but most of the things that we heard about BIM is a digital BIM. It's only the the digitalization of a model, and then ultimately when it goes to construction, I still believe that most of the things are happening from the paper drawing, which is converted from this BIM to the construction. So as a Trimble, you also heard Harsh speaking about the connected construction, constructible process. So I would also try to stitch something around that, and then using this position as well as the connectivity, modeling this information for a meaningful information like workforce management. So we have specific solutions where you can track who is on the site, how much time he has spent, on the safety aspect also, in terms of the fleet management, and in multiple of the things which we use this technology into the analytics, and then how this is used into the various applications. So net when we are talking for data driven construction, so data which is coming from the any source, or connecting it to the IoT using the multiple platforms which are available, whether it is from the Oracle, that gentleman spoke very nicely about the point solutions and the platform and the ecosystem. So I also subscribe to the same idea, and the whole intent of this discussion is that how do we take the industry forward with the solutions which are available, or how do we help them impress what is possible today in the airport space. So with whatever we have heard, people are using these technologies in the point solution basis. Somebody is using the geospatial data, satellite data, remote sensing data, but the data is being used, although it is used in fragmentation. BIM data is used in fragmented manner. Somebody's own, but I have personally seen most of it is used for design BIM. It is not yet connected with the machines, with the IoT, to take it to a meaningful conclusion, to do things or to track things or to report things from the site. Then people are using for, there was another thing which came was around the project management piece. So once these pieces are connected, then the project management, how the cost is getting consumed on the project, how different things are happening, what has been constructed in last 2 days, week, you can track all those things. So what I intend to say here is that while the technology is being used, it is happening today, but we still believe most of the things are happening in piecemeal. And as a piecemeal also, I would say that's one step ahead, that by using the machine learning and the artificial intelligence, people are at least able to see them, visualize them, optimize that information. So net, what I'm saying here is that the digital transformation is underway. Now let's see how Trimble is helping in this aspect. So I would also start with the common data environment piece, which many people have spoken about. The only difference which I would say, when we are talking common data environment, we are not limiting only to the design BIM. We are saying right from the design models or from the BIM for GIS data, basic topographic data, basic geospatial data, survey data, and then how do we bring it into a meaningful format so that this content is approved, organized in a specific format, which is further used for strategy, communication, used by different stakeholders for the project management, or to connect it with the machines, or to connect different people at different geographies. So there are 2-3 solutions which I have put here as the common data platform, and this is what I would use the platform. And I would totally support what the Oracle guys said, that the platform is where you are connecting different point solutions to address the whole challenge, and connecting it finally to the ecosystem. So giving the complete project control to the people using this common data which is coming from different places. So this is the framework that Trimble uses. And reinforcing to what Harsh has said on the constructible process, so the 3C, whether the model which has been put in the created in the lab, whether that model is constructible on the site, whether the site geometry allows to have that constructible model, then connect different pieces of men, material and machines, and make it more meaningful for the whole project. And then from your historical data, whatever history you have in terms of enriching the content, or what other people have done using that catalogs to make it easier for people to use it on the project. So with this approach, we are able to address the life cycle right from the planning to the operations and management aspect, whether it starts from the delivery strategy, planning strategy, towards the modeling and connecting with the graders, excavators, pavers. Moving forward, so this is just an example of what Trimble manufactures and how we are enabling people in terms of capturing the data. And so both in the optical systems and the GNSS, Global Network Satellite System, which is, many people know it as GPS. So Trimble manufactures almost all the equipments which are used in the data acquisition. And the beauty here is that the data which is coming from all these sources, we have a common platform called Trimble Business Center, which helps in processing this data to a meaningful conclusion, and further it is used using the Trimble Connect for the design development. And this is about our construction capabilities, so connecting hardware, software, and we have set of the knowledge which is coming from our consulting team in terms of connecting these pieces. So, and in the middle you can see that right from the scheduling to the connecting the hardware, as well as connecting to your ERPs, Trimble provides the complete backbone for a data-driven construction approach. Coming to the horizontal piece, so first I covered the geospatial part, the survey acquisition part. The second piece I spoke about the software part that Trimble offers, and the third part is around the horizontal construction. So right from the earthwork, where your grade control systems, dozers, excavators, whichever machine you use, we have the ability to take this data, convert it into a meaningful machine readable format, and then transferring it onto the machine, so that the hydraulic of the machine is managed through the RTN network as well as the satellite network, where we are able to automate the whole process by controlling the blades or the hydraulic movement of the machine to give you the accuracy of 2 to 3 millimeters when this is done on construction, and this is automating the construction process. And this is not limited only to the horizontal part, but I would say when you are doing a terminal building for the airport, how do you transfer the digital information or a BIM model to a site using the robotic total stations, using the lasers and the scanning technologies, and then even managing and capturing the as-built information as the construction information goes. So you may see right from
4 more minutes.
Okay, I need to rush up then. So the benefits are clear, and this example of what we do. So I would try to say that while on a specific site you can connect different processes, machine, material, and man. You can even connect different sites so that people like a large owner, GMR or GVK, when they have to track that how their project is going at multiple sites, we are able to take the data right from the sites and bring it into a meaningful dashboards. So the complete information is available on the fingertips of the people, where people who are planning, people who are constructing on site, and people who are managing the project and for overseeing the project. So right from single site to multiple sites to a complete project environment. And this is one example where what I said, through this video I will try to explain that on the left hand side you see this is our normal manual process, where the somebody is giving the levels, they are checking the levels, they are giving the string lines, and the grader is doing we are depending on the skills of the people who are doing this whole process. In the middle, what you are seeing is an automated process where the machine is getting completely automated through this technology which I spoke about, and the operator is only taking the machine back and forth. He is not controlling the blade of the machine. So we are not depending on the skills, or we are not depending on the accuracy which is constructed by the operator. And again, the advantage is, since with this automation, you can use the asset 24 hours. On the extreme right, you can see this machine can be used now 24 hours and in all seasons. So this was one example which I showed, and this particular technology has been used on Bangalore airport, in the expansion project of the Delhi airport, where L&T is using it for the construction of the new runway that they have done. And this data, which is so we have whatever data is coming from the project management, it is coming from the field, from the machines. So the need of the reporting, the need of the going to the site is totally eliminated, and this data is getting fed in the real time for the people to do the project control and the project management in the real time. And as I said, it could be connected with your cost, it could be connected with your ERP also. And these are what I said. This is a summary of right from what Trimble or the company like us are offering into the data-driven construction, right from working with the people and telling them what technology offers, writing the tender specification, so that when they plan this, they are not bold by the situation where there is no budget. Because most of the times we hear that the technology costs extra, where the reality is that the technology will save you at least 7 to 8 times to what you would be investing in the technology. And these are some of the examples which are happening. Yes, I'm almost done. So just allow me to conclude this piece. So using the hardware, the software, the platform, and the people that we have, or people like us are having, or the data which has been created by using any platform, whether it is a platform A, B, C, or the point solutions which are coming from Autodesk, Bentley, or anything. Because we are not talking only the software or the digital piece, we are talking of integrating it with the machines also. And these are some of the examples in the Delhi airport, the Bangalore airport, where we have done. In this short time, I thought these are some of the things which I would be able to communicate and build the confidence on what we heard in the morning session and what we hear when we engage with the people. Like, these are very common objections, that the technology is costed, we have not budgeted for the technology. Mark my word, give us a very clear challenge that within this budget we have to do this, we would be able to achieve it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Sirohi. If you can stop sharing the presentation, sir, then we'll be able to get all the speakers on.
Give me a second.
Yeah, if you can stop sharing. Let me introduce a very eminent panel that we have, and we have different kinds of panelists here. I'm just going to introduce them very, very briefly. and this is in alphabetic order. Daniel Bircher is CEO of Zurich Airport International Asia, and in his current role, he is accountable for Zurich Airport's regional office in Kuala Lumpur. As you know, Zurich Airport is developing the big airport coming up in Noida. Before he took over this current position, he was Chief Operating Officer at Airporto Internacional de Belo Horizonte in Brazil. He's earlier worked at the Bangalore International Airport as well as Director of Operations and also as Head of Safety at Zurich Airport. He's a long-standing member of ACI World Safety Technical Standing Committee, Chairman of ACI World Operational Safety Subcommittee. He has a master's degree from University of Zurich and an MBA from University of Saint-Gobain, Switzerland. Welcome, Mr. Bircher. Wonderful to see you again, and thank you for being here. Thank you. Also with us is Mr. Subodh Kumar, who's Vice President Project Construction for Mumbai International Airport Limited. He's got about 3 decades of experience and has done work not only in airports, he's also done work with steel, water treatment, and sewage treatment plants. And over the past 13 years, he's been involved with the, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaja International Airport, CSMIA. And with all aspects of it. Mr. Kumar is a civil engineer by training and has an MBA in finance. Welcome, Mr. Kumar. Great that you could join us. I think this is the first time you're speaking at our conferences today. So thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
Also with us is Mr. Vijay Balla, who's Vice President Sales for India and MENA. For Asite, MENA being Middle East and North Africa. He's got about 25 years of experience in sales and marketing, business development and project management, and he has led business consulting and client engagement projects and also helped engineering and construction companies initially transforming their business. He's worked on large infrastructure projects and he's been involved with other interesting projects such as India's first virtual classroom for K-12 segment, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you, Mr. Balla, for being here. Also with us is Dr. Hari Kumar Parameshwar, who is Executive Director, Global Aviation and Aviation Business Head, India Head for AECOM. He's a seasoned aviation management professional, has got almost 2.5 decades of experience in airport infrastructure development, airport operations management, project management, etc. And currently he manages multiple airport projects, including master planning, airport design, and program management. And he's well known for heading many complex mega aviation projects, both greenfield and brownfield, and has worked with both Bangalore projects as well as the GMR's other projects. Dr. Parameshwar is an engineering graduate with an MBA in operations management, an MPhil in human resources, and a PhD in business administration. Welcome, Dr. Parameshwar. I'm so glad you could join us again today. We had a seminar with Dr. Parameshwar just a few months ago. And finally, Mr. Anand Sirohi, who has just made the presentation. He's Director of Key Accounts and Large Projects at Trimble, has about 2.5 decades of experience, currently leading the digital construction initiatives in India and in SAARC region, and working primarily with large customers, and earlier has worked with Bentley and with Autodesk, and he has a master's degree in technology from IIT Kanpur. So that is the panel that we have. Iqbal, okay, great. So let me begin with Mr. Bircher. Mr. Bircher, from the fan, I'm assuming you're joining us from Kuala Lumpur?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you. That's correct.
Okay. Let me ask you, just if you can very briefly describe the scale of the Noida project, and then also how is the approach to construction of this project going to be different from all the other projects that you know about in India, previous ones?
Okay, thank you very much. So maybe a few cornerstones of this project. So as you might be aware, it's a 40-year concession. It is a second airport for one of the capitals of the capital of India. So whereas there have been in other cities airports, mostly they have been closed down when the new airports were built. So we are coming onto new territory there to see how a dual airport system is going to work. In India, internationally, that's something which is quite established. We are working on 1,334 hectares of land. Currently in the planning stage for a 12 million capacity terminal with 1 runway. That's phase 1. Phase 4, we envisage roughly 70 million passengers with 2 runways, depending obviously the timelines on the traffic development. Apart from the traffic part, we have ample land for logistics development, and I think that's an important part of this airport in the industrial corridor between Delhi and Lucknow, with lots of activities in Greater Noida. So we will be focusing on this development. Now, when it comes to your second part of the question, obviously the design process has been insofar a bit of a challenge that this is the first project that I can remember that all the planning steps have been done remotely. So I can remember one meeting that was in January last year, and since then everything was done virtually. To my surprise, and probably making a reference to the previous presentation with BIM models with technology today, this seems to be easier than what we envisaged. So our idea is to develop this to a quite detailed planning stage before we then engage with EPC contractors to execute. Now, how the situation will be when we start building is a bit difficult to predict with the vaccination program starting. We are aware that skilled labor is an issue. There have been a lot of movements in the job market there. So we are at the beginning of engaging on doing roadshows with potential partners there. So let's see how this shells out. So from us, again, as maybe summarizing, we will drive the design process as far as possible in the given tight timelines, so that we can also reduce time and cost risks for the project when it comes to the execution phase later on.
Okay. Let me now go to Mr. Kumar. Mr. Kumar, how is Navi Mumbai? Just briefly describe the Navi Mumbai project and how is it different from the earlier construction that you were involved with?
Good afternoon, everybody. Actually, Navi Mumbai, I'm not much involved. I'm mostly involved for Chhatrapati Shivaji Mihal, Mumbai International Airport Limited. And now I'm taking care of Lucknow now, presently. So if you can really discuss, but as far as the information goes, still the rock cutting and the hillocks which were there, it is at, almost level, and we are waiting for some of the clearances to be given by relocation of the villages by the local government. Hopefully that should be done. And already design concept is frozen, master planning is in progress, and EPC contractor is already on board. But still we are looking for optimization. I think we always think in a different way. Whenever we design with a vision, mission and core values, considering the place where exactly we are building. So keeping in mind the Mumbai and culture of Mumbai and overall the culture of India. That is very, very important to develop because that is the gateway to that place and gateway to the entire western part of India. That is the economical hub and economical capital of India. So we can say really we are going to use the new technology. Of course, the BIM technology, what we are talking about just now, it is going to help us. But that is still, we have to see its 100% effectiveness. That is yet to be proven. The way Mr. Sirohi was explaining, since design, then project management and construction and integration of everything, that is really a challenge. When we go to site, and our concept of basically a developer, contractor and project management has to be changed. We always think that when everybody is on board and they have one mission to build something different, a great airport, then it should be everybody should be their partner. That you have to see that the team player, whosoever is playing, have their role, but ultimate aim is that the team is winning. And to ensure that team is winning, all the aspect of project management, design, project management, implementation, handing over stakeholder expectation, then customer expectation, then culture and economy. Everything has to be seen in totality.
Okay. I'm going to come back to you about things. Let me go to Dr. Parameshwar now. Dr. Parameshwar, if you can hear us, I can't see you, but I see that you're logged in. If you can unmute yourself. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Dr. Parameshwar, I'm going to ask you a question. When you look at the new construction and the new airports coming up in India, whether they are big ones like Noida and Navi Mumbai, or they are smaller ones, how will they be different from the construction, of earlier airports like Bangalore and Delhi and Mumbai and Hyderabad?
Yeah, Alok, I think I had some connection issues, I think, on back end. Somebody has set it right. That is why the video is off. I think they have made the video off. But I can hear you probably. I think you can hear me as well.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very well, sir.
Okay. Okay, now coming to your question, yes, the earlier projects, if I take my own example with my own experience with the Bangalore or some of the Hyderabad, parallel it was happening, and again another GMR project which I handled. And today there is a big difference. One is that what Anand was mentioning about a technology transformation. We are into a technology transformation era. And also Daniel has mentioned about the challenge now because of the COVID, the labor. Labor is becoming a big issue because most of this Bangalore, I remember that when we had done the greenfield construction, we had 5,000 plus laborers L&D had brought in, and it was fully a labor-oriented construction. And we could complete it on time, and that was the case with Hyderabad also. Many of the Indian projects have been completed. It was done like that. In today's scenario, what is happening is that we have the technology in our reach. And also we have this issue of mobilizing such large labor. And I think it's a right time, right opportunity for Daniel to, look this project in Noida or in Navi Mumbai, which now Adani is going to take up in altogether in a different perspective about how can we utilize this technology in an effective way where the time we can deliver the project on time with the right quality and maybe, at a reduced cost, because the cost is also a challenge, because the COVID has impacted the aviation industry in a very big way, and every airport operator is struggling today to, again, enhance the revenue. So cost is also very important fact. Now the issue, what is the major challenge here? The major challenge here is that technology is available, but there are so many stakeholders involved. If I take about Noida with my limited access to Noida project, there are many design consultants involved. There is a terminal building designer, airside designer, landside designer will be there. There could be other smaller designers coming on board for ancillary buildings or different kind of facilities. Now there is a PMC on board. At the same time, the client, the Noida airport, ultimately the Zurich airport is the one developing the airport. The client is on board. Then the contractor, the EPC will come. I don't know how many EPC contractor they are planning. Maybe 1 or 2 or 3 major EPC contractor will come. Their own subcontractors will come. Now everyone using the same technology, on a same platform, which can be shared to everyone and also seen by everyone. That's a big challenge. Now, one or two my ongoing projects, I have this major challenge that we designed the project. In the detailed design, we delivered the 3D, the BIM model on at a level of LOD 350. Now, further, the EPC is not taking it further because in their contract, this clause was missing. They are not taking it further. If we don't take it from LOD 300 or 350 to LOD 400, LOD 400 is nothing but the fabrication, the models which need to be done by not even EPC, their subcontractor. Now, if their EPC is not taking care, and if the subcontractor is not using the same model for next level, it won't reach to LOD 400. Now there again you can leave it. Again, the EPC has to further make it to LOD 500 by the time you complete the project, so that you have the as-built model available, which can be further taken for your asset management. If all these stakeholders, multiple stakeholders, starting from the designer, the promoter, the EPC contractor, their subcontractor, and PMC, don't use the same technology and the same platform for taking this technology forward and delivering this project, this cannot happen. I think this is going to be the real challenge. The upcoming airport, they need to think, because they are just starting the project. It's a time they can strategize it and align with now Anand has mentioned about the technology, how the technology can be utilized for even running the equipment, running the machines. So this is the strategic call, the Navi Mumbai and Noida should take at this moment, and take this project as a real example for India adopting technology and delivering this project on time.
Okay. Let me now go to Mr. Balla. Mr. Balla, you've been dealing with Middle East and Indian region for quite some time. And what are your own observations, first of all, within the airport sector on the use of technology? What do you see them doing? What do you see them not doing?
Look, first and foremost, thank you, everybody, and good afternoon to the co-panelists and the audience. I'd like to answer this question slightly differently, because the situation is not too different from airport construction and the rest of the infrastructure projects.
Okay.
I'd like to take off from where one of our speakers early during the day left. I made a mention, I think that was a very common mention of productivity, and what Dr. Parameshwar just mentioned about everybody wanting to keep the costs low and ensure the bottom line is not affected. Right? There is a direct, I think, connection between these two. So let me just make a very common statement. First of all, the pandemic has actually triggered the need to establish an environment for remote working. So, and moving forward, if there is a repetition of something very similar in future, plus some of the major challenges that Dr. Sen this morning also mentioned about monitoring, project monitoring, which is also connected somewhere to the productivity. I'm just coming to that. So some of the challenges are continuous monitoring, and considering the sheer engineering complexity, there is a need, I feel, to align the stakeholders' learning curves with respect to technology tools. And this is no different between India and Middle East, trust me. It's one and the same. Again, Dr. Parameshwaran pointed out that, somebody's working on LOD 350 and then somebody else working on LOD 400. That's, I think, the root cause. I look at it this way. It's important to douse the fire at its source rather than the fire itself. I think the way the project plan is created for an airport or a large-sized infrastructure project, you start with, for example, a feasibility and maybe a high-level design. Similarly, your IT framework, I think that is the beginning. The ITs or the software framework for the entire project or an enterprise not possible, I'm talking of a specific project here, has to be on board at the same time as your design engineering commencement. And that's very important. So that's how you're able to align the stakeholders' learning curves also. There is a need to upskill also here, because with increased use of BIM adoption, there is a requirement that you need to upskill. I think there was a mention early during the day about the skill sets, a dearth of skill set in this industry by one of the panel members this morning. He also wanted to mention that we are 10 years behind in skill sets. So I think that is very, very important. And this also sets a stage for establishing a common data environment. Now, like Mr. Amaro, he also said, we typically, because in an attempt to keep the costs low, in an attempt to improve the bottom line, we get into a first build system. There is a business function, there is a pain point, and there is an urgency to address that. We come up with a software solution to address that, right? And then 6 months down the line, there's another big business function and a pain point. You deploy another software to address that pain point. So these are, like somebody pointed out, these are point solution. I call it purpose-built systems, right? They are here to solve specific business needs, right? But they are short of serving the needs of the whole project. So what is important here is you are not able to, important is to derive significant benefits when disparate systems are not integrated. So there is a need here very clearly for a common data environment which offers high levels of interoperability, right? Which is, in other words, ability to integrate into your existing systems. Somebody said there is a use of ERPs there. We're talking of workforce management systems. Productivity is one thing that we were talking of. Now, productivity is not expecting people to work extended timelines. We see a lot of it happening in Middle East. I'm not sure about India, but yes, Middle East, you see very often people working beyond their timelines. Now, that's not productivity to me. Now, productivity is all about empowering the project members with the right tools, so that is productivity. So investments or expenditure on software and IT framework for a project should be considered as an investment and not as an expenditure. So eventually, one classic example I would like to highlight here is the Heathrow Airport. Now, Heathrow Airport is a classic example of deployment of a common data environment where they have proven savings of over $8 million there. Right, that's over 2% of their investments, and then much more to be envisaged over the time frame. So and also Dr. Parameshwaran talked about we are in a era of digital transformation, right? The point is there are different components operating at different levels. So there is a need to integrate them. The starting point is an issue. So that is where there is a clear need for a common data environment where you have different solutions, like maybe a workforce management system, something to do with site construction, monitoring of site progress. We're talking of contractors again here. One of the biggest issues of contractors is your contract management, right? Your inability to monitor your contract because it is working in a silo. Your contract management as a software is working as a silo. They need to be integrated with your schedules. They need to work coherently with your handover stage. So there is a need for integrating that with the rest of the project lifecycle. So that is where I think the framework needs to be established at the start of the project rather than getting into purpose-built systems. I think that is where is the challenge that be it MENA or be it India is facing.
All right. Okay. Let me, I'll get back to the airports a little bit. Mr. Bircher, let me ask you a series of questions about the Noida project. What are the timelines for Noida project?
We have 36 months to complete the project from our appointed date. Currently, there are two main conditions to be met for the appointed date. That's the land handover and the financing. And we are working together with the government on these and expect this in the next 6 months.
And are these timelines more or less same that were originally, or have they been affected by COVID?
No, I think they're the same. The only thing that has been postponed was the initial signing of the concession agreement, since were not able to travel, and so the initial phase of COVID was very difficult. But now we are on track.
Okay, and in terms of capacity by phase, is that still the same as it was before, or has that changed?
So for the first phase, the 12 million capacity is the same, including all the other infrastructures. Now for the other phases, that is totally dependent on the uptake of travel demand. And so, but assuming that we start in 2024, by then I think the effects of COVID will not be really in the market anymore. So so I think this will go pretty fast that we then even have to look at phase 2.
And what is the total estimated cost for the project?
At this stage, we only have calculated, and that's also in public domain, about 4,500 crores for phase one. The subsequent phases, that depends then totally on the cost level at this stage and how we can do it.
And who is your project management consultant?
We have tied up with Jacobs to support us there for the overall management together with the team, and we've done in the summer months a competition for the design, and Nordic Green Show has won the competition out of a selection of 3 reputable companies. So they are currently working on the planning of the terminal.
And have they selected the EPC contractors, or are you going to do that?
No, we will do that as I initially mentioned. So roadshows have started so that we can interact and understand. First of all, communicate what we want and how the process will be, but also to understand what are the requirements for the RFP documents, how we have the let's say, how have the market conditions changed? So we want to have it in I wouldn't say interactive, but we want to have a dialogue with possible partners right from the beginning, so that we're clear when we issue the RFP then on the market that we are spot on what we can expect also for proposals. Okay,
and the 36 months. Is that, would you consider that a challenging one, or would you consider that a reasonable one?
I mean, 3 years is always a challenge. I mean, I would say since, as I mentioned, we are going to a detailed design on our side, so we review some of the risks there, and there will be some final planning on the EPC side that always has a certain unknown in it, but we feel it's reasonable. It's a time frame that can be met unless we encounter somewhere soil issues. But we've done site surveys, we've done geological surveys, so I think we're more or less clear on these issues. There is not too many issues with preparation of the site. It's flat. There are not too many obstacles, so we are quite confident with these time frames.
And what about connectivity infrastructure? I remember in Bangalore there was an issue. Is that all planned and sorted out for Noida?
We are in dialogue, and what you also can read in the press. There are 2 main connectivity projects ongoing. One is the metro extension from Greater Noida to the airport, which we just were informed that the responsibilities and the financing has been secured. And the second one, for us even more important, is connectivity to the high-speed rail link between Delhi and Varanasi. And I think we have, and I would really like to stress this, we have the unique opportunity to build here a multimodal transportation hub. We have a Yamuna Expressway, which is one of the top highways in India with a lot of traffic. We have these rail connectivities. We have seen the government is willing to even extend the connectivity between Yamuna Express and the Delhi-Mumbai corridor. So I think both from a point of view of enlarging the catchment, but also for the logistics process, I would say we are reasonably well connected if all these projects that the government has promised will be deployed in time.
Okay, and I mean, obviously you leave it to the EPC and project management. I mean, you're a project management consultant, but how do you monitor the progress of the project?
You mean with regard to tools?
Yeah, meaning technologies and things. Yeah.
As I mentioned, BIM is an important element right from the start, and that will be across the owner's side, the EPC, the PMC. So we work with the same technology there. We are still in the early stage of setting up the project monitoring, the cost monitoring, the time monitoring. So obviously there are tools there that we will use across all the 3 parties or 4 parties, or however many we will have, to monitor this closely so that we can ensure cost adherence. I can't go into more details because this is still work in progress.
Right, of course. I mean, this is going to come later rather than, because right now your focus has been on agreements and things like that. Let me go to Dr. Parameshwar now. Dr. Parameshwar, you've been involved with a number of projects, and what do you think are the key critical sort of, for lack of a better word, success factors in making sure that the construction of airport, not just the development, but the construction happens on time?
Yes, Alok. So let me take it in a different perspective. Let us look into some of the examples of the major airport projects. Those were delivered on time. For example, if you take Bangalore International Airport, BL had major challenge. In the halfway through construction, there was an unprecedented traffic growth was foreseen, and this entire the redesign was done. The scope has become almost double. In fact, a lot of variation. Then the cost has become almost double compared to the original budget. Despite all these challenges, that project was delivered on time. And the same was the case with Hyderabad. Hyderabad had another challenge that after they started the project, they had to throw out the EPC. The EPC, they were supposed to make the complete construction and bring in the new EPC. So this was a major challenge. Despite that, that project was delivered on time. And another project which I delivered for GMR, the Cebu, we had a lot of challenges. The land was not handed over on time. There was delay of around 8 months for handing over the land. Then the halfway through the bidding, then we realized that we will not be able to fit within the budget. Then entire bidding was scrapped, and entire thing we have to again rebid it. Lot of delays. And in fact, the government was ready to give us a 1 year extension of time, but we refused to accept that. The last day of the original date, what was fixed, we delivered the project. There are many cases where, despite challenges, the projects were delivered on time. So why this has happened? If you look into certain things, this is my understanding. What I felt is that one common thing what I found is in all these projects there was a strong commitment from the promoter. When I'm talking about strong commitment, as I mentioned earlier, with the multiple stakeholders, every day this kind of multiple with the major mega projects, every day you have to take some crucial decisions. And when the promoters distance and leave it to PMC or leave it to a bunch of project management people to manage it, the decision, the day-to-day decision become really that could delay the project in many ways. So here, all these projects I found there is a strong commitment. There was a strong commitment from the promoter. So they sit every day, weekly or bi-weekly, 3-4 hours, understanding the issues, and then and there, discuss everything and take the decision. That was one factor which contributed for success. And second, always, this I tell that the project management, theoretically, whatever the way we are talking about the traditional project management, that way we can't deliver, this kind of mega project, the complex airport project. Always you will find there is one guy who is actually driving the project. All this project you will find one guy who, wear multiple, the different hats and take the complete responsibility on his shoulder and drive the project. That strong leadership was always there in all this project. Who is that one guy? If you ask, who is that one guy delivering this project? There should be a person visible to everyone. So that is very important in all these kind of multiple projects. Then third factor, which I believe is the collaborative approach, where, instead of dealing the contractor as a contractor or contractor and owner versus that kind of correspondence, day-to-day correspondence, contractual letters, keeping all those things aside, bring every day the issues on table, involve everyone, discuss it with an open mind, find the solutions and moving forward. So this is very important. Then maybe the last or maybe the another major point which I found is the planning aspect. This I mentioned in last conference also, that India always we take up the project, especially the airport project, on time, because immediately a concession agreement is signed, then government or who are the grantor put a pressure on the developer that now I want in 3 months design, I want 1 month master plan, in 3 months in design, 6 months as I want the construction to start. This kind of tight, the deadline where the developer is forced to straight away go for taking a concept or a preliminary design from a designer. So there, what we are, even technology part we are looking, what we are getting is just LOD 100, that kind of a design. Then call an EPC tender. Then EPC also make a lot of assumptions because they don't have the proper visibility and clarity. Then during the construction, many of these assumptions goes wrong, then ending up with variations, claims, disputes. So this generally causes a lot of delay in airport projects. Mm-hmm. So it's very important that before we strike the ground, the complete planning process is completed and 100% design is available. If that we can ensure, that also will make sure that these projects, we can deliver on time. I think these are some of the factors which is coming to my mind that would ensure a mega project like what is happening, what is coming up in Noida or in Navi Mumbai or other upcoming the airport projects could be delivered on time.
Okay, all right. Let me go to Mr. Kumar briefly. Mr. Kumar, could you tell us about the Lucknow project? What it involves? Go ahead, sir. Yeah, Mr. Kumar. Iqbal, can you connect with him?
Yes.
Because I think we can. He is connected. His
yes.
video is not there, but he's connected. So just see, because I know he unmuted himself to speak, but then something didn't go right. Let me just quickly ask Mr. Balla, while we are waiting for Mr. Kumar, just a quick question for you. What is Asite's interest in airport? Yeah, sir, you have to unmute yourself, sir. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that. So, like I highlighted, the starting point is your common data environment, and then you have all your bits and pieces in terms of your different business processes coming into play within the common data environment for the airport project. So you have different stakeholders coming up with different systems. So there is a strong need for integrating into different systems there. So that is where Asite plays a big role. One. Second, also is like Dr. Parameshwar said that he talked about I think he talked about BIM strategy. I think Mr. Daniel spoke about BIM strategy. So in the world of BIM, so it forms a very important concept. Your common data environment forms an important concept and is pivotal to any successful BIM project, right? And choosing a correct CD forms the first step towards it. So we are banked there at the starting point so that your entire process goes right. Your ability to have your own internal, like for example, you have your workforce management, you have your costing module, you have your facilities management. So right through your planning stage, your engineering design stage, to your handover and further down, which is your asset and facilities management or O&M. Right. So all through this, most of this can be organic within a site, right? And many of them can be integrated. For example, we don't do scheduling, for example, because, for example, a system like Primavera does it much better. So we don't have to repeat it, and organizations don't have to reinvest in a Primavera tool, in a scheduling tool within a site. So we have the ability to connect with those systems like your ERPs and your scheduling tools and the different hardwares. We are talking of IoTs today. Right, so there is an inherent need for the CD to integrate into a futuristic hardwares like your drone systems and and whatnot, and holograms technologies and stuff like that. So so there is a need for a robust, scalable CDE with a high level of interoperability. That is exactly what we do. So the CDE requirements have actually been defined in, let's say, PAS 1192, PS 1192, and incidentally also recently in the ISO 19650, which we are certified on.
Okay.
So concluding, I think airports are asset-intensive business systems. So they need to be designed and constructed in a way that meet operational requirements of a successful asset. So if you're deploying a software, that needs to begin with a CDE, because that forms an important concept and pivotal to any successful project.
Okay. Let me go to Mr. Kumar now. Mr. Kumar, I was going to ask you about the Lucknow project.
Yeah.
Can you describe that?
Yes, sorry. Yeah. Recently, in the month of November, we have taken over that project, and we have started with. While going to site, we have seen the existing design which was done by Aegis, and the client was AI, Airport Authority of India. We have seen something has to be improved, because it has to be properly used, and it should be having the higher SQ rating and passenger facility. Plus, you know that now the airport is being designed for self-sustainability. It has to sustain itself. It is a heart of the development of the airport program. Unless and until it is meeting all the requirement and the expectation of the your customer, you can't survive. That is the reason now we are looking for redesigning basically the overall terminal building, because we don't have much on air side. That is the reason we are focusing more on terminal. At the same time, we are looking the point whether it is a constructible or not within the timeline, and the material which is going to be used, whether it is really a lead time it's a more lead time, or otherwise how can we optimize on that. And the way Mr. Parameshwar was talking, that other projects where we have seen that commitment from the developer, where it's very high. This is the right way, and that is the right approach what we discussed, and we have to lead from the front. That was the reason I was telling earlier also. Contractor is nothing but your partner, and you have to see that your partner is winning. For that, the developer, he is acting a major role. He is the manager of the team, and that is the reason he has to lead from the front. He has to resolve the issues, and he has to address the issues at the earliest. So now the same way we are going in the Lucknow. Now we have different agencies engaged, right from the design, PMC, then subcontractor, their subcontractor. Now we are integrating them so that to understand exactly where is the gap, and we are trying to remove the gaps so that our delivery and the timeline, which is really going to be set, and we can achieve without any delay, with the optimum cost, and of course with best quality and safety.
Okay, all right. And what are the, you mentioned timelines. What are the timelines? When do you have to do this by?
Actually, earlier, as per the AI, this timeline was before COVID. Basically, it was December 2020, but now they have extended till December 21 for phase 1, and phase 2 December 22. But I think we are revisiting on design. Maybe there will be some change, minor change. And
what, so
yeah.
what is the capacity increase?
Capacity basically right now we are thinking for 10 million, and existing the terminal is catering the volume of around 4 million, 3 million, because right now there is a one international airport, small one, that is called T1, and T2 is a domestic one, and put together that is around 4 million they're handling around. But the new terminal, which is going to be integrated international terminal, and it will handle around 10 million. But still we have a plan whether we are going to use existing T2 also or not.
And now Adani is involved with a number of projects. So
Yes.
Are you taking a sort of, is there a centralized cell here? You utilizing Mumbai airport people?
Yes. Yes, you are correct. Because I was also involved in Mumbai, and we were basically a central team at Mumbai. And of course, the Adani using the resources what we have and the expertise and the way we have handled the Mumbai airport, because that is a brownfield project and that was a complex project. And now, wherever Adani has taken over, there is around 6 airports, and all the 6 airports are basically a brownfield. And we know the complexity of the brownfield airport, having the exposure, dealing with the vendors, dealing with the contractor, knowing the material. So it is easy, and I think we will be delivering the project on best timeline.
All right. And therefore, do you have a centralized capability for handling all of these things?
Yes, we have in-house capability, right from the planning, design, cost management, and of course, everything we are going to have a centralized system now, and we'll handle all the projects from most probably from Mumbai and Ahmedabad.
All right. Okay. And so again, to remind you, Adani is doing 6 projects plus the Mumbai International.
Yeah, plus eight projects total right now.
8 projects in all. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. Okay. Let me quickly go to Mr. Sirohi. Mr. Sirohi, any thoughts you have while you're listening to the other panelists? Mr. Sirohi, yeah.
Yeah, give me a second. I was just putting my laptop on charge.
Right.
So, the story remains same. The challenges are there, and these are all complex projects. So I fully agree to what Daniel said, that sometimes, when people have not seen the technology in motion, it becomes very difficult for them to believe whether the technology would be able to do it or not. With specific challenges, so while we are working with your team, Mr. Daniel, we have given them some level of confidence. I think it is important that on measured outcome, let's engage, let's get very specific on that. Coming to what Mr. Hari said, that yet on some of the projects, and he took the example of Bangalore, where there were some specific people who took special interest. So yeah, if as long as the knowledge is with some people and they are able to manage this information and control this information with all the stakeholders, maybe by putting extra hours and extra people, it worked. But in any complex environment, and with the availability of what people did it, so the best word which I would say, and the confidence which I have, and in taking this forward, is that the data is coming to you from men, material, and machine in real time. And the data is same what has been created by people. Now, first we have to believe in the accuracy of the data which has been created, and that starts right from the survey data, then to the whatever BIM data. Today the irony is, while we are talking BIM, but tell me any project where BIM has been done end to end, where the data has been consumed on the machine from the digital model for construction and tracking the project. Because today, even when I look at Delhi airport, the project management, still the data is fed manually. Now, what is this? I'm not questioning, but I'm asking, what is the sanctity of that data which is fed manually? Because we are not even comparing surfaces to surfaces. We are not comparing what happened 2 days before, what has happened today. So if the single truth is what is happening in real time from men, material, and machine, and today the technology has that possibility. So let's put our hands together on some specific items. I know that the confidence will not go with the people for a large initiative, but let's start on one. To give 2 examples, which I said, Bangalore airport, although it was a piecemeal approach, it was not an integrated approach. We reduced from 21 graders to 9 graders on that runway, which was created last year. We have increased the productivity from 25,000 cubic meter per grader per month to about 60,000. So that is the power of technology paying off, technology doing it in time. So if you measure the whole outcome, it is just not in terms of reducing the machine or reducing it is reducing your whole ecosystem. If you are able to construct in tight tolerances, you would be able to save money. Because today what happens, whatever bad work has done on the earthwork, and typically we understand the India ecosystem. What happens when a master contractor comes on the project? They further subcontract. Nobody does surveying themselves. Nobody brings machines. How many contractors in India have their own machines today? They subcontract. And when they subcontract, they don't even write clearly that what type of machines do they need. So today I was talking to one of the rail contractor, and believe me, they are using a grader which is 15 years old. Now that breaks down every time. And so what happens? These people are also going with the lowest denominator, lowest cost. We have to somewhere embrace the technology, share ours, bring us together, put our BIM strategy right in the beginning. And then when you writing, like Daniel said that they're doing road
that's
shows.
an important point. Yeah. Mr. Sirohi, I'm just going to move on to the next point if you don't mind. Mr. Bircher,
can I just conclude on
Yeah,
that point? While Daniel was saying that they're doing road shows and they're talking to the EPC contractors, what type of documentation and that, I think there are experts available around the technology. They need also to be brought into this discussion mode, not only the contractors, and then probably together we would be able to put the strategy together.
Okay, all right. Well, there's input for you, Mr. Bircher, in terms of things that you need to do. Let me ask you, I'd asked earlier Dr. Parameshwar about, for lack of a better word, what are the critical success factors for construction? Now, from a development point of view, having looked at airport development across the world and in India, what are the 3 or 4 things that help projects develop in the way that you would have wanted to versus not?
I would say, if I look at the projects that we have been involved, I mean, I would say as a first, we have to differentiate between brown and greenfield. I think in the case of brownfield, if I start with that first, obviously the financing, depending on the economic regulation, is always a critical challenge. And then the handover or ORAT or whatever you call it to establish the baseline for the new operations. That includes the way how the incumbent, the personnel of the incumbent can be taken on board. What are the flexibilities there, and what does the concession provide with regards to, I would say, force majeure and changes. So I think these were the key takeaways from the brownfield airports. On the greenfield side, I would say the financing is there. It needs a different approach. I mean, let's leave aside COVID. COVID poses a special challenge for everyone, but in a more ideal environment, the greenfield approach, the dealing with risks and the reports required by the lenders are different there. But the key issue, and we've seen this in many projects with land, is encumbrance-free land. Some airports have greatly suffered from that. In other projects, this has been done a bit better. So I think if this is what we look at when we look at greenfield, and our lesson also that we learned, and Hari Kumar also mentioned that before, is the market dynamics. In the case of Bangalore, the replanning, that's one of the big challenges. Obviously, you always go reasonably defensive in a bid process and assume conservative approaches, which in most markets is quite helpful. In the case of India, we have always been in the past surprised by the dynamics of the market and the stronger growth. So that puts an additional challenge. So I would say these 3 or 4 key project risks is what we see.
Okay, one more question for you, Mr. Bircher. How has the airport development or construction been affected in other parts of the world in the last 1 year?
Again, the big difference between the market is the size of the domestic travel. So we've seen in Brazil, where we are predominantly acting, a reasonably strong recovery until maybe 2-3 weeks ago, with capacity 60-70% at pre-COVID levels. And in our main airport in Zurich, we suffer from the uncoordinated approaches there of the different states, and also the impact that international travel has taken. So I think these countries and these airports that depend on international traffic, transatlantic traffic, transcontinental traffic, they suffer more. And these projects all have suffered and have been delayed, whereas big markets have an advantage there.
Okay. And Mr. Bircher, what are we seeing in terms of the traffic recovery across the world?
So in conclusion to that, what I mentioned, I think we can expect in large domestic markets a reasonably strong rebound until the end of this year. For international traffic, again, the scenarios go between end of 22, 23. More likely, if we see now the vaccination programs across the globe, we're still not in a position to say, okay, these are the procedures in future, these are the requirements to travel, to enter a country, and as long as this is not there, irrespective of the COVID levels, I think it will be very difficult for international travel to rebound in a sustainable way.
Okay. Mr. Balla, when Mr. Sirohi was making his points, I could see that you were nodding in agreement. Can you share what was going through your mind at the time?
I don't remember it was Mr. Sirohi, but yes, I was definitely nodding when Dr. Parameshwaran made a mention. There has to be the management buy-in. There has to be this one man, I would probably say a team or a man, the captain of the ship, who will drive the entire project, especially when it comes to technology adoption. I mean, that is very, very important to embracing any technology. At the end of the day, we are all human beings. It's all here. It's all in the mindset to adopt any new technologies.
Okay, Mr. Balla, your platform, is a collaboration platform. And because the 2 points you mentioned are collaboration and digital transformation. And are you just starting off in India right now, or is that, or have you been here for a while?
No, we've been here for a while in other segments, right? But we've got enough experience in implementing Asite in systems overseas, especially airports like Heathrow Airport. We have done Dubai Airport, and I think we've done the Gibraltar Airport also. A couple of airports case studies we've had experience in those in this sector overseas.
And in India, which are the other sectors that you have?
We're pretty strong in the real estate sector. Yeah, so you can find the big names who really had realized benefits out of using Asite at an enterprise level. So when I say enterprise level, it's very difficult, for somebody to implement a solution at an enterprise level, managing 40 and 50 projects at the same time, standardizing processes across all projects, given the fact that you have different contractors, subcontractors, different PMCs coming on board. So I think there is a biggest challenge there, and I think we've been pretty successful in implementing those in the real estate sector in India.
Dr. Parameshwar, Mr. Sirohi was earlier making a point about just the fact that people are not utilizing BIM enough, or not putting enough data, or not worrying about the sanctity of the data, etc., etc. Any comments you have on that?
Yeah, Anand is right. In today's, the environment, as I think someone has mentioned earlier also, you need to have a budget for the technology. So there is a wrong concept in people's mind, especially on a developer side, that implementing this technology, is going to cost, is going to burn our pocket. But the reality may be on the other way. The reality should be on the other way, that by probably implementing this technology in the right way, again at optimal level, too much is also not good. India is not prepared for all of a sudden, adopting this, because today the market is full of, the solutions. Every day you get calls from different people. Everybody is entering into Indian market, thinking that India is going to be something like a big market in coming days. A lot of projects are coming up. So you have to go step by step, we have to adopt something like a step-by-step approach. Today, where are we standing? But we need to move forward, rather again holding on to our traditional way of managing the project. Like Anand was mentioning about this earthwork, because every project, that's a real painful part of an airport project. Adani is maybe lucky that Noida has relatively a flat land, but many of the projects, like what I was handling in Goa, it was totally hill. They had to cut the hill and fill the the valleys and make an airport. Now GMR is coming about the Bhogapuram. There the situation is not much different. Maybe 40 meter valley need to be sometimes filled, 35-meter valley need to be filled. And our traditional way, you know that if you go with our more specifications, you can do this filling with 250 mm layers. And each layer need to be tested. Now, the traditional way, you bring the subcontractors with this old equipment, they start making, you know, the filling, then the compaction testing need to be done exactly as per the more specifications. Here again, another issue, let me highlight it. This is going to be very, very serious in coming days, that technology is moving very fast. But our regulations and standards are not getting updated at that pace. Today, also, I can tell you that most of the clients, they are not accepting the modern technology for testing. Let me take a very, very specific example. Like, you know, I was talking about the filling, the earthwork filling. Now you make 250 mm one layer filling. Then you go with the standards. You are supposed to immediately do the testing, and the standards makes very clearly about area wise how many test points are required. And every client want, you know, going with the traditional way of testing, like a sand replacement method for compaction, then moisture content need to be tested in the lab. If you go that way, 2 days there is going to be a gap. Once you made a filling, then you have to go for the testing. Once the test fails, again you have to do the recompaction, again retesting. This is going to take a lot of time. So you are adopting technology. You are going to put the, you know, the what is called the right technology. You are going to integrate with the machines. Machines will run, but if the testing is also not going in the same pace, you will not be able to catch it up. So we also need to bring the regulators and standard makers also in line with, align with them about what is happening in the world and update their standards. Then every promoter has to show some kind of willingness to test it, even if 100% we don't want to change. Like Sirohi was mentioning about, okay, some of the grade A, some of the compact A's, let me try with this one in one of my projects and see the productivity. Practically, we have to measure how much productivity improvement is there, and the additional cost, maybe 80,000 or 1 lakh, which I'm going to invest on each equipment for providing this, you know, fitting this hardware done. Is it going to give me more productivity? So some kind of testing, you know, some kind of analysis we need to do, and if we are finding it effective, cost effective, as well as we are able to save time, I think at least in the next project, we should be able to adopt this technology in a larger way and demonstrate it and deliver the project on time. So that is where I think the developer has to take that risk and allocate some budget for adopting the technology. And also we have to bring our regulators on board to align with, you know, the modifying the standards and specifications, so that, you know, that also is modified in line with the technology improvement happening in the market.
Okay, Dr. Parameshwar, a very quick question for you. When you look at the projects across sectors, in airport projects, have we had many failures in India, or because one sees more successes than failures, right? Versus infrastructure sector.
I don't think that failure in the sense of, I don't think that any airport project got shelved due to some reason. It doesn't happen. Right. But yes, delays would be there. There could be delays. There could be, you know, like now one example which Mr. Kumar brought. I think it's very, very important that, you know, one client has taken up a project and they went with some kind of a concept for a terminal building project and they designed it. And I think that project, like, no, if I'm right, it may be something around 55% progress. I'm not sure, maybe something halfway through the project.
No, it's 20%.
And, sorry?
It's around 20% only.
Oh, 20%. Then it is okay. It's not too late, because I am also, I think you may have similar issue with Guwahati. Guwahati, we are the designer, we are the PMC. Now Adani is going to sign the contract for Guwahati also soon. So in another 3 months, you may take up Guwahati. Guwahati, the current progress is something around close to 40%, 38%. Now, the point is that when another developer steps in, and their experience, their, you know, the way they look at this facility, look at this infrastructure is different, because they want to give a different kind of impression to the passengers. They want to handle this project in a different way. Then what happens, entire thing again starts from zero. You know, we need to make changes in the design, probably the EPC contract, how it was designed earlier may not be acceptable to them. Same thing probably would happen in Navi Mumbai also. Navi Mumbai, we are the IE, we know what is happening there. So Adani is again very cautious there about going ahead with what GBK has done earlier. So this change happens. Every developer has their own way for looking into the project, the way they want to deliver the project, they want to handle the project, how the terminal, the building should look like. So they have their own way, their own way for delivering this project. So this may be a major challenge. Whether we need to take that one at this stage when the project is only at 40 or 50%, already progress. Do we need to go for a total redesign? Is it going to be cost effective, or are we going to pump in, more money? Is it going to again delay the project for another couple of years? So this call has to be taken by the developer. Finally, yes, they are the final judge and they are the one going to take this call.
Okay. Let me go back to Mr. Bircher. Mr. Bircher, have you gotten all the clearances and all the land? I mean, is it all, meaning will it all be done by the government, or will you have to do some things?
The land is the responsibility of the government. What we have so far is the in principle approval by the Ministry of Civil Aviation. We also have the environmental clearance for the project for the further phases. The land handover, that's a process that we are currently in the middle, and I think the government of UP is going to do I would say a showcase process of R&R and compensation that has to be done in this area. So we are expecting this, as I mentioned initially, in the next 6 months.
So it's relatively speaking, relatively clean for you versus other projects. Versus Navi Mumbai, for example, which had many.
Bangalore was a different case because it was the first PPP project where a lot of contracts and agreements were missing. I think the key challenge was the financing also, because it wasn't really known to the banks. Whereas India today has got quite a long history and has got really a reasonably mature PPP framework with areas to improve, but that has made it much easier.
Okay, and so it is, and compared to Navi Mumbai as well, which had many issues over the years.
From what we can see and what we can observe, obviously land, and I mentioned that as one of the big project risks for Greenfield. That's one of the challenges that we also follow in the media.
Okay, all right, okay. If I can now go to Mr. Kumar, is Adani Group or GVK Group, are you using the same BIM modeling and all those things, or is it different from airport to airport?
Right now, I think for Navi Mumbai we are using, but other airports, because everywhere it was from AI, so, and consultant was different. So we have to see that. We have to, again, this culture has to be brought in, and we'll do that.
All right. So
going down the line, yeah.
So right now you've taken the designs from airport.
No, all the documents, whatever there, they have given the design and the concept, because they have done the GFC based on that. They have appointed the contractor. In fact, their way of handling was different. They have handled the contract as an item rate contract, not as a EPC. Yeah.
Right.
So that is the way it was formulated, but we are thinking in a different way, because there is a interface which needs to be addressed very importantly, because that is required for your operation of the project, and especially when you have a operation and maintenance with you, you have to think perspective of maintenance. It should not be it's more it should be cost effective rather, and it should be safe. There should not be much problem, and there should not be much burden on the developer.
So now that you're sort of coming in at this stage, what are the problems that are there because of that?
We have firstly, when we went to site, we have seen 2-3 general issues which were at site. We found that there was some waterlogging, and then so we are going to address all the issues first, which was really hampering the convenience to the passenger. we wanted to address that. Then, of course, the challenge is getting a land. So that, of course, we are discussing with the local authority, and we'll see how it's going to be.
Are you redesigning the airport?
Terminal building certainly we are doing, and master planning is in progress.
All right. Okay. All right. Let me come to Mr. Balla now. Mr. Balla, you mentioned earlier that you've used this, SR has been used in Dubai and in Heathrow, I think, if I recollect correctly. And so what was their experience? Can you cite particular success they had or otherwise? Yes, sir, you are muted, sir. Yeah, go ahead, sir, please.
Yeah, sorry. So see, in terms of getting all the project participant onto one view, different systems and one view, that's where we've been very successful in getting them to collaborate with all the project participants on a single platform. That has been one of the biggest takeaway. So I think we've been able to do that to help them build a truly integrated airport. For example, now CDs are expected to link asset management systems to, let's say, a reference model, right? So once aligned, the CDE can be used to support detailed cost and schedule delivery at an asset level.
Right.
And the same thing further can be mined in airport controls and operations at a later date. So there is complete continuity in the entire digital transformation attempt there. Right. Rather than building things in silos and later on there is lack of user adoption because things are operating at different levels.
Okay. Who in this world of products? Who's your competition and who are your partners?
Well, competition, Mr. Sirohi is my competition here.
Oh, he is. Okay. All right. Yeah. And then you work with all others like he does. Okay.
Yeah, of course, yes.
All right. Okay. And how do you differentiate yourself from Mr. Sirohi's product line?
I think they are into a much larger frame of things. We stick to just the software aspects and the CDE aspects. So they are, I think, also into construction hardware, which integrates into the software. But we don't get into that. But yes, we have the capability of integrating it into a third-party system. Okay. It could be even Trimble.
But your primary focus is just the collaboration part of it.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. Okay.
Having said that, yes, it's end-to-end, right? From concept to handover and O&M is what I'm saying.
Mr. Sirohi, would you like to add anything to that or subtract anything from that?
I think great point, and as he has himself said, and it's not about A company or B company. I think together we have a great opportunity at hand, a great challenge also at hand, and if we are able to build some confidence to the developers as well as to the airport authority, I think Mr. Parameshwar has made a great point that as long as the standards will remain of the highways and others for the airports, some things will not fall in place. So maybe I am thinking seriously, from an ecosystem side, that we need to make a think tank involving, Mr. Hari and maybe some like-minded people, and we have to go together to airport authority and put this together, that how are they forcing, while we make individual efforts. Like I have gone and met the member planning and from airport authority. I have met Mr. Sri Kumar. Everybody, we are doing it, but as long as we are making it as an individual effort, it is not fructifying. But under your leadership or something, if we are able to make and go and get these specifics on table and say that this is how we will solve it, because once we identify this is a problem, solving is not a problem. Because today also the passion and the technology that we have, even for any project, let's do a small paid pilot, show that it works. Because the challenge is many people don't even think, and I think today morning the Autodesk guy simply said that many contractors, they say that we don't know what is available. They don't, from their report they have found that many people don't even know what is available and how they use it. And I think with this platform and amongst us, and I'm not saying only me, even Balla and Autodesk, Bentley, AECOM, Jacobs together, can we at least leverage this information that we have at hand and try to solve it, show it on one or two projects and build that confidence that yes, this is doable.
Let me go to Dr. Parameshwar now. Dr. Parameshwar, we know that when it comes to big projects handled by private, private owners, developers, everything works relatively smoothly. How has Airport Authority of India, how have they changed over the last 4, 5, 6 years? Are there projects now being developed or constructed in a better way than it was before?
Alok, see, in fact, I also worked with AEI.
I know in Chennai and other places we are working.
I'm telling not now. In fact, I was an employee of AEI.
Earlier, of course, right.
14 years back, I started my airport journey from AEI. I learned everything from AEI. 13 and a half years, I worked with AEI before, I moved to BAL. So I worked with AEI. I also worked with most of the private airport operators. So I can easily differentiate how, AEI and other private promoters see the project or how do they handle the project. See, what is happening with AA is, I don't say that AA is wrong or, the way they are handling is something which is not. The issue here is, is a public sector. It's a public sector which comes under a lot of regulatory bodies, especially they have a vigilance inside, they are subject to the CTE auditing, they are subject to CAG auditing, and BOQ and specification, they use the DSR BOQ, like Kumar said, why all these projects still they are going with item rate tender. This is not done by none of the private developers do that. They go for a lump sum contract. But we are facing now 2 of the major AA projects are with us. So there also we have same issue. You may have 2,500 items, small and big items. Now they also have, as per their internal regulation, there are certain deviation limits. They says that an individual item cannot be deviated more than 25%. Overall deviation is restricted within 5%. Subward deviation is restricted to 10%. So this more like what happens with AA is that they are so much caught up with this kind of restrictions internally. And even though they have talent, many of the AA engineers are really great people. They have good ideas. They have talents, but they are caught in this bureaucratic process. They are not able to move forward. So that is where, these AA projects, most of the AA projects get delayed because of that the decision-making similar way hierarchical. They have a delegation of powers where starting from the field, the manager has some very limited financial powers. Then the DGM has some more power, GM has some power, then executive director, member, it goes up to chairman. Suppose there is a deviation, some minor change you want to do in the field that costs, say, 2 crore or 3 crore, the deviation that may go up to chairman for getting an approval. So that process itself, moving the file from field, going through different levels, and somebody can write some comment, again file comes back. Even though now they adopted the technology, most of this file noting happens online, but still it is a time-consuming process. The decisions get delayed. So that is what the main difference I can see, that how airport authority is handling the projects and how the private operators are handling in a different way. Private operators, like I mentioned earlier, there's always a strong commitment. Even GMR has seen that the business chairman himself sit in many of the meeting. May not be every week, but at least once in 2 weeks or once in a month. And all the issues which cannot be handled in the field, the issues are brought into his knowledge. Then and there a decision is taken, and even if a financial approval, the approval comes on time. So the things can be taken forward. And in a similar way, the collaborative approach when contractor and the project management team sit together, and there is always a possibility for compromise. That is not what is happening in AA, because exactly their guidelines, internal guidelines are there, how a contractor has to submit certain claim, how this will be processed by PMC, then PMC's recommendation, then client will again review it. So there are a lot of paperwork, lot of record need to be created before this approval happens.
Okay.
So let
me go to Mr. Bircher. I think we're coming to the last 5-6 minutes, so we'll definitely be done by 4:20 or another 7 minutes or so. Mr. Bircher, what is the sort of vision statement or mission statement for Noida? Is there a one sentence that you're promising that this is what the airport will be?
Well, we have a couple of aspects there, but overall, we are committed to India, so we want to help and build this infrastructure roadmap that the government is pushing. As a trusted partner, we want to build a world-class airport that is user-friendly. I think that's the most important part. It's a digital airport, and we want to be one of the first ones, if not the first one, that can claim to be net zero with regards to emissions. So we're working hard on that aspect to do whatever we can from our side to reduce these emissions.
Okay. Mr. Kumar, do you have some sort of a vision thing for? Is there a statement there for Lucknow yet?
Not yet, because we worked with the Vision Statement of the Mumbai.
Right.
That we at that time our program was to build a airport which is user friendly, which is consistently delight the passengers and pride of Mumbai. That was the theme we have, and we have worked with that, and we achieve ultimately. And you might have seen the icon or the India,
the rankings and everything else. Yes, yeah. Of course. Mr. Balla, you wanted to say something. You're raising your hand. So you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, actually, just supporting to what Mr. Sirohi said, we could probably look at recommending to the industry, to the government agencies of incentivizing the virtual usage of virtual collaborative environment. That I strongly feel that could be an enabler for digital delivery and digital transformation adoption.
Okay. Well, we can try doing a meeting on a non-commercial basis, which is just for 5, 6, 7 people. With Dr. Parameshwar being a key person there because he's involved in a lot of areas and has a lot of thoughts and a lot of experience. And we can certainly try and do it. But Mr. Balla, anything that you would like to say in conclusion?
I think it's important to establish the fact that because people are looking at project profitability, because that's what everybody is running after, time and cost. Everything converts into cost. Right. So it's important to communicate to them that you are not making a spend there, but you are making an investment, which is going to give you a return. And I think that's a very important message that needs to be drilled down to the owners, the clients, and all the agencies involved. Yeah, at all levels.
I should mention that, Mr. Balla, that this particular realization a lot of people are having right now after the last 7-8 months of COVID. People have realized that when the physical constraints are not there, as in labor and materials, things have moved much faster. So those aspects which are non-physical aspects have moved much faster because people have been forced to have some degree of digital transformation.
Yeah, so it's not just about digital transformation. It's, for example, if you're looking at contracts,
collaboration, and it's having a platform.
Absolutely, and it's also about standardizing various business processes. Right. One aspect is if you're looking at contracts, now everybody's just got a very thin contracts management system, start date, end date, and stuff like that. But that's not the start and end of a contract management system. You have guidelines to it. You have things like FIDIC standards, FIDIC guidelines, NEC 3-4 guidelines. I think we need to educate, create more awareness about all of these systems, and hence improve adoption.
Okay. Mr. Sirohi, if you would like to add something, because I'll give Dr. Parameshwar the last word after you.
So 2 things. One is that we heard from the plenary session very clear statement that the technology has to give outcome in terms of more efficient, cheaper, faster, and safer outcome. That is the construction. So I have no doubt that technology will do that. And second thing which people have not said, that technology will pay for itself and even save 7 to 8 times on what would be invest on technology. So these are big statements which I'm making, but if given a challenge, we would prove it.
Okay. Dr. Parameshwar, you have the last word.
Yeah, thanks, Alok. So my point here is, we spoke a lot about educating the community, all the stakeholders. So today also, I think, there is a misconcept in the industry that this technology is it's a construction tool. I think we need to change this slogan, including the technology, whoever is the technology providers, and they are trying to sell this technology. Let us project this technology adoption as ultimately an asset management investment. It is no more a construction tool just to aid the construction. Today, if you invest in the technology in the planning and design stage, take it further in the construction stage, and pass it on that baton to the owners of the asset, they will manage the asset in a better way with less, investing less money in operation and maintenance, and also for whatever the future expansion, because every airport is developed in a phased manner. First they develop phase 1, then deliver it, then again you need expansion. When the expansion comes, this, the model what we are using for the asset management will be further taken up for the expansion. So this investment has to be projected in the right way, that this is not simply a construction, investment you are going to do, but this investment, it is going to make your, finally for the asset management. It's not only for, it is not simply a 3D model. The same model will be used for scheduling. It will be used for costing. This is used for sustainable, assessing the sustainable impact, and finally for the proper asset management. So that is a way I think we should start projecting now onwards about technology adoption. With that, I think in a couple of years, we can really make a big transformation in this industry.
Thank you very much, Dr. Parameshwar. I think with this, we will end the session. Thank you very much, Mr. Bircher, as always. And I know that we saw you in person not too long ago, or it was long ago. It was almost a year ago. And we hope that you will be able to see you soon here, and you'll be able to, you're of course moving along on the project. And of course, I think we'll probably see you 1 or 2 more times the next month or so. And thank you for always being there. It's really wonderful because Noida is, as of now, one of the 2 biggest projects that are upcoming. And it's important to have you there as well. And thank you very much for being there. Thank you, Mr. Kumar, and good luck with your Lucknow project, sir. And we'll keep coming back to you to get your inputs. And I would thank Mr. And please do convey my regards to Mr. Jan, who we went to, and then he's the one who requested you to come in. Mr. Balla, very nice to make your acquaintance and to have your brand on one of our conferences. And although I think Asite is presenting tomorrow as well in the Metro Rail, if I'm not mistaken, which I'm looking myself. And but thank you again for your thoughts, and thank you for supporting the conference as well. And Dr. Parameshwar, as always, when I say as always, is even though we met just a few months ago, with all that we've interacted, I feel I've known you for longer. Thank you very, very much. And I think people always come back and say how much they've learned from you and how much they want you there, at our next event. So thank you very much for joining us today, Dr. Parameshwar.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Mr. Sirohi. Special thanks to you, sir. You always supported all of our initiatives.
Sir, and
I think your passion comes through in your evangelist sort of, voice that you have. And I know sometimes I have to say to you, please, we only have a few more minutes.
Actually, I want to do it. I want to do it.
Yes, exactly. So, but I think the good part about that is that even your passion even, inspires your, your competitors to join you. They're happy to join you. You can put a smile on Mr. Balla's face, so that's good too. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sirohi, and thank you, attendees. We will be ending the session now in a couple of minutes. The other 2 sessions are still going on, the railways and road session. So you can always, click on the sessions icon, which is on your left tab somewhere there. And join the session. And tomorrow we are starting. You can use the same link. We are starting in the morning at again 9:45, and plenary session is on Tata projects, timely completion of projects. We have tracks on tunnels and bridges and metros and irrigation. We also have tomorrow the keynote address by Union Minister for Road Transport and Highways, and that's Mr. Nitin Gadkari. He'll be making the keynote address tomorrow. And you can use the same link, although I think we'll be sending you the link again. And please do join us in time. As you saw today, we tend to do things on time. And although we've gone over a little bit by 10 minutes because we had 10 minutes today, but we tend to do things. So please do join us early in the morning, with your coffee ready, and we hope to see you tomorrow. But meanwhile, the other 2 sessions are going on, and you can join those sessions. Thank you again.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kumar. Thank you, Mr. Balla. Thank you. Iqbal, you can end this session if you'd like. Thank you, Mr. Sirohi.